I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to have the clerk give the roll call.
Dale Eames.
Present.
Kristen Moen.
Present.
Kelly Carroll.
Present.
John Setela. Barry Wagner.
Present.
Harold Jorgensen.
Present.
Jeff Keelan.
Present.
Liz Stockman. Present. Walter Cleat.
Present.
And also have the clerk read the meeting policy.
The agenda as printed or amended will be followed, so all necessary and needed actions by the commission will be addressed. The agenda can be amended by proper motion. Business from the floor is welcome and is allotted for on the agenda. When comments from the floor are made, you must first be recognized by the chair. Second, state your name and address for the record. And third, you will have no more than 2 minutes to state your comment or concern. Copies of the agenda and other handouts are available on the back table. Please sign in and turn cell phones off.
Okay, at this time I'm going to ask for approve or amend tonight's meeting agenda of July 25th, 2017. Would somebody like to make that motion? Mr. Farrell.
I approve to today's meeting agenda.
Do we have a second to this?
Second.
Commissioner Wagner seconded. All. Is there any questions about it? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next thing we're going to do is approve or amend the June 27, 2017 Planning and Zoning meeting minutes. Do we have a motion for this?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay. Commissioner Moen made the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Amended?
I have one minor change.
Okay.
Page 3, item 3, it should say alteration instead of altercation.
Okay, with that correction, we'll add that to the motion.
I make a motion to approve it with the change.
Okay, person is seconded. Do you? Was it Commissioner? Who was it who seconded it?
You did.
You did.
Okay, I did. Okay. Okay. Is there any amendments to this? Seeing none, we'll vote on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next thing is on our agenda is the floor items. And if you're here to speak about any of these items that's going on here tonight, public hearings, hold that until the public hearings. Otherwise, you can speak for floor items if it has to do with anything else. So is there anybody with floor items?
I think there was one, wasn't there?
I think this is a continuation of the sign-up sheet.
Okay.
No, let me see. Brandon, you wanted to speak? I asked him because he was, so he's actually the one that wants to speak.
Hi, Brandon Ebert, 9157 Burns Parkway. I had some questions for the city attorney. I guess the city attorney is not available to the citizens. Does the city of Nowthen follow the state of Minnesota Office of Reviser Statute 462 when it pertains to our municipality? Under Statute 462.352, definitions, subdivision 3, a planning agency, I understand that the planning agency here would be our planning and zoning board, but does it also include the city planner, in this case Liz Stockman? In other words, does the city planner have voting power on the planning and zoning board? No?
No,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Is a recommendation action, yea or nay, that's taken by planning and zoning, within statute 462.355 subdivision 3, has to do with taking action before a 60-day window? Is that action taken before the 60-day window binding to city council? If they take no action, then city council can take action.
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So the city council has 60 days to make their decision. So the planning and zoning commission is a recommending body. So within that 60 days, this commission will make a recommendation to the city council, and they must decide yea or nay within that time period. If the city requests an additional 60 days for review, which we often do, and I believe that we have done in the race to the Rademacher request, because it was continued from last month, then that legal authority goes out to 120 days.
Okay. But if planning and zoning makes a yea recommendation or a nay recommendation, the city council has to follow that if they do it within that window?
No, they can vote differently if that's what you're asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the statute kind of makes it sound like if the planning agency makes a decision within the window, the council is supposed to be abiding by that.
No, this is a recommending body. They don't decide anything, they only make a recommendation. The council can either agree with that or do something different.
Okay, thank you.
That was the only floor item. Okay, I'll declare the public hearing open, and the first thing here, I'm gonna read a little letter here, along with what we're going to do here tonight. And the first item is, city staff has consulted with the city attorney, who has stated that it is okay to consider the following two requests from the same public hearing. The requests are alike in area, the type of request, and require the same procedure. And item two, I'll read the request. A continuation of the public hearing from June 27, 2017, Rademacher and Rosler comp plan amendment rezoning, a joint request by Grant Rademacher, Rademacher Family Limited Partnership, and Kent Rosler, KR Farm Land Holding LLC, to amend the city 2030 comprehensive use plan by change of plus or minus 41 acres from the permanent rural residential commercial light manufacturing, and to rezone the same property from the RRA Royal Residential Agriculture to some combination of C1 commercial and I1 industrial. The PIN number is 313325-34-003, and 28.13 acres, and this and 31.33-25-31-001, about 13 acres of the 38.56 acres. Then item B under that is the public hearing, land use plan amendment and rezoning by Daniel Stover and Jamie Stover for property owned at 9531 181st Avenue, 41.49 acres, pin number 31-33-25-33-001, and 9349 181th Avenue, a 10 acre, and the pin number is 31-33-25-34-002. And at this time, we're going to ask our planner, Ms. Stockton, take over at this time.
Thank you. I'm Liz Stockman, the city planner. I'd like to introduce you to the commission. This is Chair Ames.
the liaison with the city council, and he votes on the city council level. We've got Kelly Perro, Walter Cleef, Barry Wagner, Harold Jorgensen, Kristen Mullen, and we have one member absent tonight. So what I'd like to do is just go through a few things procedurally before we get to the actual public hearing itself. After I speak, we'll let the applicant speak, and then we will open the public hearing for all of you to come up one at a time. And I'll say a little bit more later about the rules, so to speak. So the most important thing about tonight is that we are only considering land use change. We're not looking at a rezoning tonight. It's a multiple step process to go through when somebody requests a land use change. It can either be initiated by the property owners or by the city. In this case, it was initiated by the property owners to request that change from rural residential to commercial / light manufacturing. That is our only designation for business uses. So don't be alarmed by the commercial and industrial designation. The land use change is completely different from the zoning. The zoning comes later. And the type of zoning can be considered or discussed as far as whether or not we're going to consider rezoning to one of the current zones, like the C1 district, or do we establish a new zone for that vicinity, or none at all. So I'm having a few logistical problems, so apologize if I'm blocking anyone's view. What is planning? Planning refers to the process of deciding what to do and how to do it. So these folks are all volunteers. They've dedicated their time to learning about this process, to reading all the reports every month, and they show up for the betterment of the city and have dedicated themselves to this action. Effective planning, which we try to talk about on a regular basis, is takes into account a lot of different things. Not only land use, transportation, population, there's a whole host of things, environmentally concerns, and it happens on several different levels. The state gives cities most of the control over their own land use plan. However, Met Council looks at how that fits into the regional land use plan for the metropolitan area. Now, Anoka County is kind of on the northwest fringe of the metro area, and so not all things apply to Nowthen, such as because of the lack of sewer and water, the impacts such as residential uses or change in use, and how that affects public sewer and water is not an issue here. But other things very well could be. So tonight we're focusing on land use. And I want to differentiate between the 2030 land use plan.
Liz,
Yes.
can I interrupt there? Your last bullet point, I think, is important as well.
This one, 2030.
Amendment versus an update.
Right, so this 2030 land use plan is what we currently have in place. That was adopted back in 2009, 2010. So every 10 years, Met Council mandates a comprehensive plan update where they look at the city's entire comprehensive plan and all the different sections. What the current request is for an amendment by these property owners to change the land use just on their property. So they would be amending the 2030 land use plan, which is currently in place. In 2018, and sort of leading up to it starting this fall, the city will be hosting a series of meetings to talk about the 2040 land use plan and whether or not that will change as part of the required update by Met Council. So as Chair Yang stated, we have two requests that they made applications separately. It began with Mr. Raisler's property and Mr. Rademacher as the co-applicant with the intent on building a new Bill's Superette and potentially a liquor store down at the 181st and Baugh vicinity. This application involves 41 acres, and we opened the public hearing in June and continued it to this evening. These maps show the original submission by Mr. Raisler and Mr. Rademacher. Lots 1 through 11 on the northern part of this site are indicated to be residential. And the 7 lots in the southern portion are requested to be changed to the commercial light manufacturing land use designation, with lot 12 down in the very southern corner being the site of the proposed bills. And this is a conceptual diagram of the bill's layout showing the convenience store and liquor store. Very rough concept showing one access onto 181st and another, what would be or could be a shared access onto Baugh Street, which this road here that was dotted in across Mr. Raisler's land was intended to also serve the Stover property further west. One interesting thing, or I guess just historic, is the preliminary plat for Burns Crossing, which was around 2006, and it proposed 20 single-family lots on the very land that Mr. Raisler owns at the present time. This is the northern portion. You can see the power line easement here with a series of streets and a cul-de-sac abutting the Bailey Estates subdivision to the north. And then the southern part of the plat shows the Stover's property adjacent to it here, basically as an exception, and shows the remaining lot. So this was not final platting, it never went any further due to the basically economic crash back then. It is interesting to note that a 20-lot subdivision such as this, based on the Institute of Traffic Engineers manual, would generate 10 trips a day per residential lot, per single family. So we're looking at upwards of 2,000 cars a day or trips a day generated by the residential concept shown here. And that would be, for the most part, compliant with our existing zoning of RRA, rural residential A.
Excuse me just a minute, you said 10 trips per day per occupant?
No, 10 trips per day per household. So some households obviously are gonna have less if they only maybe have 2 people living there, whereas a house with 6 kids, you know, they make up for that. But that's the
I think,
average.
Liz, I think they were correcting the math. You said 2,000, it'd be 200.
You're right, sorry about that. So,
He's just checking to see if you're paying attention.
glad you're aware. So Daniel Stover and Jamie Stover made application similar application to the Race to the Rademacher request about a month later. So it's a separate request, but what we're gonna do is open the public hearing together and hear all the comments at once, but then we will vote separately at the end of the hearing. So the Stover request includes 33 acres changing over to commercial, light industrial, plus the 41 acres on the Race to the property is a total of 74 acres. So this diagram, most of you received if you did get a letter in the mail, if you were within that, 1,700 feet, we went out along the outskirts of the lots that were part of the request. So I was trying to clarify that this northern area would not be changed. This 40 acres in the very northeast corner of these four quarters here is not part of the request. It does show that it's part of the concept, but it does not need to be part of the land use change. This is the 25 acres or so that would not change, in which Mr. Racer proposed would abut Bailey Estates. So the change starts on the southern portion of this quarter, and then involves the 28 acres surrounding Jamie Stover's property. And then Jamie Stover owns this 10 acres, with Daniel Stover owning this 40. Now you can see a large portion of the Stover property is covered by wetlands, which wouldn't necessarily be involved in the land use change. The screening, which is shown, or required buffering, was proposed by me because it is a requirement in the city zoning ordinance. Mr. Racer did not show it on his initial concept. So that is open for discussion, but typically when we have a commercial industrial use next to residential, we do require some type of a screening. Typically that might be multiple rows of trees, could be berming, it could be fencing, or some combination thereof. This is a more regional picture of the area with all this land over here being Elk River. You can see the buffer that this wetland creates from the uses to the west. Again, we have Bailey Estates to the north and Burnside Trails to the east. We also have a few residences to the south and this greenhouse operation on the corner, which may, I'm told, someday be commercial by the city of Ramsey. That's up in the air at this time as well. So the process tonight is the public hearing for the two requests combined. Again, this is a recommending body. They will hear your thoughts or concerns, make a motion to the city council. It could go one of three ways. If there is a positive motion or a motion to approve, that would be to authorize a comprehensive plan amendment to be prepared and submitted to Met Council. And also it's required that that go to all the surrounding cities, the school districts, the watershed district, and those types of jurisdictions. If the commission wishes to deny the request or make a recommendation to deny the request, it is based on a policy decision. So does it meet with the goals and the policies in our comprehensive plan? Does it, what impacts does it have on the residences, on the neighborhoods in this vicinity? They could they could decide not to move it forward strictly based on the fact that it might be considered a premature development or any other number of reasons. Lastly, the third option would be to table or continue the request until next month if they felt that they needed additional information. Once again, it is just the land use portion of that they're considering tonight. The rezoning will come later. So once they make their recommendation, the city council meeting is on August 8th. That is not a public hearing. So you're welcome to come to that meeting, but you won't be allowed to speak. This is your chance tonight to share your opinions either for or against the project and come up to the podium. So if the council authorizes completion of the comp plan amendment, I will prepare a document, and then the review period will be 60 days for those adjoining cities, school districts, etc., to review that plan. So then that comes back in about October, November to the city council for final review, where they would again consider that land use change and either vote for or against it. So if they had a lot of negative feedback, for instance, from adjoining cities, they may not move forward with it. If they don't, they might authorize that change. So keep in mind that even if it's authorized to go to Met Council for review, it's not a done deal at that point. It's not binding. So when it comes back, they still have the opportunity to approve or deny that land use change. So in essence, preparation of the actual amendment form is just getting additional information and comments from the neighboring cities. Following all those steps, if we get that far, that's when we start to tackle the rezoning and what that looks like. So it could be, like I said, the existing C1 district that we currently have, or we could look at establishing a new district, which may limit what types of uses go into the neighborhood versus just opening it up to any type of commercial use. And then once it's rezoned, we still have the subdivision of land and then the site design of the individual uses. So it's not until the land is split and sold that the bills can come in with their individual site plans to make application. The gas station and convenience store requires a conditional use permit. Actually, 2 conditional use permits, one for motor vehicle and fuel sales and one for convenience food. And both require public hearings on that level as well. This is the C1 zoning district current list of permitted uses. So we have banks, offices, retail sales, instructional classes, nursery and landscape businesses, daycares, restaurants, and services. So that just gives you a general idea of what is permitted in that district. Despite what some might think, adult uses are not permitted in this area. We have an ordinance, an adult use ordinance that not only requires a license, but limits adult uses by location, their distance from schools, parks, residences, libraries, churches. So this map shows you a little bit. So we have residential basically surrounding this 160 acres. And there's a 500 foot separation from any residential property to the border of an adult use property, or a property upon which the adult use is proposed. This is just showing that 500 feet in, but there really cannot be anything in this whole vicinity here. And then the setback is even greater, 1,000 feet from schools, parks, daycares, libraries, and churches. Absolutely no adult uses in this vicinity based on existing development. I talked a little bit last month about lighting compatible uses, and I want to sort of compare the two. A light use would be putting residential next to residential, or commercial next to commercial. But if that's the only thing we considered, then every city would just have one land use. So there has to be compatibility involved and considered with any land use change. And sometimes, depending on the use, they can be compatible just naturally, or a city can create the situation where they are compatible with one another through the street and lot arrangements, the site design, the landscaping, screening, where the loading and parking is located, whether it's visible or not visible. All sorts of different things can be looked at when reviewing site plans. And in support of such a goal, it's important to note that we already have in place many regulations in our zoning ordinance and city code in this regard. So we have setbacks that are required, building height limits. We have screening and landscaping that are required just generally around the building and adjacent to parking areas to make them look nice and hide the paved areas. We have, again, that buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone, where you would have potentially berming, fencing, and landscaping. We have architectural and building standards, which is the type of materials on the outside of the buildings. We have a lighting ordinance, which requires that lighting be limited to the site boundaries. It cannot shine onto adjacent properties or the public street. We have sign ordinance, which also limits placement and size and the lighting of signs. Property maintenance standards, which are our administrative notice and administrative citation process if people do violate the standards that we have established, or we get a complaint on a certain property, we do go out and investigate that. Lastly, traffic analysis is typically done by the city engineer, and he would work in association with Anoka County regarding the access onto these two roads. 22 is considered a county state aid road, which is typically a little higher volume, and they, just as the name implies, they get state aid. And the remainder of 181st is a county road status. But both are considered collector streets. They're intended to serve local streets, so they will draw traffic from their neighborhoods onto the county roads. The county roads then lead to the larger roads, such as Highway 10, Highway 47, and 169. And that's kind of the hierarchy of transportation planning. So again, we will give the applicant time to speak, but when we open the public hearing, we'll ask you to come up one at a time. If we have an extra chair, I think it would be nice to put one right here. You can sort of come up and wait in line behind the person that's speaking. That will speed things up a little bit. We do have 7 public hearings tonight, and we'd like to get through this and certainly accommodate anyone that wants to speak but try to move it along so that we're fair to the other applicants following this request. So you will have 2 minutes to speak instead of the normal 3. We will be timing if we have to. If you try not to repeat what somebody has said, if you feel that you want to come up and give your name and just say, I agree with so-and-so, that's great. Let's see. We do encourage you to stay for the rest of the meeting, and if you should, however, want to leave after the public hearing for the land use changes, please do so quickly and quietly. I believe I've covered everything, and thank you very much. We will now let Mr. Racer say a few words.
Mr. Chair, if I could speak first.
Oh,
Just, first of all, I do want to welcome you all for attending. I know it, there's a lot of information out there, and this is obviously the best way to hear it firsthand. But I want to reiterate, we do record our meetings, all our meetings. Cameras going in the back. These will be posted on YouTube, so people that couldn't be here tonight can see it. If you want to go back and hear what you heard at the meeting, you can go back and hear it. At our previous meeting, those of you that weren't here, a number of questions were asked, and our planner has answered those questions. These answers have been posted on the city website. I believe they are on the website already. So they are on the website. We do have some hard copies at city offices also. But some of the questions that came up in the previous part of the public hearing have been addressed in writing. As the planner was saying, we appreciate there are actually 7 different public hearings tonight. It just so happens when people apply, you get the next meeting up. And so there's a lot of people here for one or 2 of those public hearings. There's others waiting in the back for their own public hearings. So we do appreciate that people can be concise, but we want to make sure everybody's heard as well. And so if you want to at least get your name on the record and get up and say, I agree with what's been said here. There may be some people that want to support it, so we want to make sure that we alternate. If there are people that support it, there's obviously people that are opposed to it. But so in respect for the rest of the people here, if we're saying the same thing, obviously reiterate, I agree with them. But then if it's not something new, we appreciate agreement, but then give us a chance for the other people that have public hearings following this one. But again, I want to thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. It's what do you say? It's a good opportunity to learn more that's going on in the city. So I, take this opportunity to participate tonight, but also continue to stay involved. I appreciate that as well. So we do, as council members, have public phone numbers. I've had the same number for 32 years. We do welcome individual follow-up should you have other questions or concerns. Can't answer it all tonight. And as, again, reiterating, simply a recommending body, there will be no vote to other than recommending or denying tonight. So there'll be no further action until after the council meeting. And again, we have a council workshop on Thursday, August 3rd, and we have the council meeting where this will be taken up as an official vote on Tuesday, August 8th, 7 o'clock, same location. So again, any questions, you have it on YouTube, and you're certainly invited and welcome to participate in future meetings as well.
Okay, at this time, the applicant, if they have anything they'd like to say?
Good evening, planning and zoning members. My name is Kent Raisler at 4870 Viking Boulevard. I'm a resident of this community. I've lived here for 25 years. Also a developer, been developing for 30 years. We were approached by a user for the corner. They'd like to build in our community, and as you know, they already are existing into our community. Good operators, and they do a real nice job with their place of business. This corner, the corner where they'd like to build, is a high traffic corner, and it also carries a lot of volume of traffic currently on the street. To the north of it, underneath the power lines and so forth, we felt that maybe if we had tie some more opportunity for some more commercial users to benefit from the high traffic streets, that would be a good concept. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to run it past you, give this community the opportunity, in fact the first opportunity, to take advantage of the uses, to take advantage of long-term tax base that's probably 4 to 5 times more than the existing zoning in terms of revenue, and that's forever. So this piece being in the northwest corner of town is isolated 160 acres. It's the furthest south west corner of our city, and it abuts to Elk River, and it also abuts to Ramsey. And so something eventually is going to go on that corner, and hopefully any use will be in our city rather than in an adjacent city. So I'll refrain and I'll be here for comments in case you'd like to ask me any other questions. But I'd appreciate your support on this item tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask the clerk to verify the legal publications and mailings and postings of the event complete. Okay, she says they're complete.
Carrie Ann?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Rademacher would like to
Oh,
speak.
Mr. Rod. Okay.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, thank you for having this tonight. If I can answer a couple of the questions that were raised at the last meeting, a couple of issues that were brought up that I wasn't prepared to answer and did some homework on them. One was addressing the number of police calls that have been at our address currently in Nowthen. Since 1/1/2016, we've had 31 phone calls or 31 reported calls attached to the address. Now, just because it's attached to the address doesn't mean that they're related to Bill Superetz or its employees. So we pulled the reports from county sheriff. 18 of those calls were related to non-Bill Superett issues. Several of them included medical concerns, medical issues. I don't know what they were. 2 were civil disputes between related parties. 1 was a welfare check on a child. Multiple traffic stops, just happened to pull into the Bill Superett lot or the adjoining bank lot. So 18 of the 31 were not related to us. 13 of them were. So I wanted to clarify that to you and the public. Second question was, there's already one gas station in town. Why do we need another one? We're looking at a 5-year plan, so this is not in a development that we're looking for next year or possibly even 19. We're starting the process to see if we can get the ball rolling on a 5-year plan. We look at traffic counts first and foremost. The traffic that leaves Viking Boulevard, our current location, heading west, 94% of that traffic heads due west onto County Road 65. Very little of it heads south onto Baugh Street. So as we look at those traffic counts as to where are our customers driving to or driving from, very little cannibalism from this proposed corner to the corner that we're located on now. So those are the things that we key in on. Future school growth. There was a female doctor here at the last meeting, commented that there was a school proposed out on 170th, I believe, and that is true to our understanding. That's one of the things that we're looking at this area for. Schools bring families, bring kids, bring growth, and that's what we do for a living, so we're looking to feed and fuel those customers. I'm going to remain here as well. If I can answer any other questions from you or the audience, we'll certainly do our best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rademacher. At this time, we're going to open it up for the public. If you have comments, come up to the mic, and we're going to try to hold it to 2 minutes as close as we can because we've got a lot of things going on here tonight. And like they said, the second person comes up can sit in the chair and wait for the first one to get through. Okay, we'll open it up for you to give you a name and your address.
Mr. Chair, is Mr. Stover here today?
Yes.
Is Mr. Stover? Oh, he's not.
No, they're not here.
My name is Greg Mataseski. I live on 8840, 181st Avenue in Ramsey. I submitted a letter to all of you. I don't know if you all got it, just on my concerns of what was going on there. And one of the things we didn't bring up on that, right now, as you can see by the sticker, I'm kind of against it. But my biggest concern is I drove down 81st, 181st and Bog Street today just to see what condition the roads were in. And they're pretty tough shape. They're beat up, they're falling apart, and there's no shoulders on them. They are gravel shoulders. And I think of the safety that's involved as cars come down that road, as the increase of traffic. He said that is his goal, is to satisfy the community and increase, the traffic will increase and there'll be more and more. It's to make a profit, I understand that. But my biggest concern is, has there been any kind of real impact study done on the road, the traffic that comes in there? And then also, has there been an environmental impact, since it is kind of a low-lying area and there is water nearby, what it'll do to that area and by changing it. I'm just concerned that those things would be addressed and taken care of and looked at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Brandon Ebert, 9157 Burns Parkway. In regards to land use, many questions were asked at the last public comment in June, and since then they've been answered very vaguely or replied to in a deceiving sales pitch manner, almost to the effect where, is our planner also working with these business owners? Are the business owners paying the city planner as well as the city paying the planner? In regards to like incompatible for the neighborhood, the business industrial district land use is not like incompatible with our residential neighborhood. In regards to like incompatible with the Stover's landscaping and sod farm, that is also not like or compatible with the Rossler Rademacher land use proposal, as the Stovers are agricultural business zoned RRA, which is operated short-term seasonally. In regards to like incompatible, Gordon's Greenhouse is also zoned RRA, short-term seasonal agriculture, whereas the Rossler Rademacher proposal is a 365-day possibility on land use. How can you use these like incompatibles when they are short-term seasonal businesses proposed in proposal difference to a year-round business? Sorry.
Thank you. You're over 2 minutes.
In regards to buffering residential neighbors, and seeing how Mr. Dan Larson to my north, myself and Mr. George Beers to the south are all corner lots. We all sit on feeder roads. The conceptual drawing for buffer zones do not serve corner lots. How do you plan to buffer us with corner lots? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is LaDonna Kartak. I live in Bailey Estates on Iman. I just wanted to say I'm not really in favor of this. I can sympathize with their desire to do something with their land, you know, to make some money off it or whatever. But you know, we built out here 7 years ago, and we did a lot of research on where to build. And the thing, your slogan here, the city of Nowthen, where it still feels like country. And this wouldn't really feel like country, having a gas station and a liquor store right by our development. And it's, you know, it was zoned permanent rural residential and rural residential agriculture. You know, I mean, that just doesn't seem right to all of a sudden, and well, now we're going to change it, you know, make it commercial, and we're going to put a gas station right, you know, along your corner there, have lighting and have a lot of, you know, basically mess. I mean, I like Bill's, but I can get up to Bill's in 5 minutes from our house, and I can get over to Elk River, to Walmart or whatever, to get our food there, so, yeah, I don't really feel the need for it, and I don't really like the thoughts of it, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Becky Hagan, 9525 187th Avenue, also in the Bailey Estates. We just built a house in the last year and a half, and we built based on what was brought up, that Nowthen is a place that still feels like country, and this scares me, and with my family's desire to live in a place that still feels like country. Like the last speaker just said, I think it will change all that, and it's not why we moved to Nowthen, and I didn't want to just stay seated and not say anything, because I would feel like I would be wronging my children. Like, I want them to live in a place that's like what we live right now, that it is open spaces and not surrounded by gas stations and liquor stores. So, thank you.
Charles Secord, 8783 190th Avenue. So I'm wondering if the proposed land use change and/or subsequent rezoning is involved in any kind of litigation, who's responsible for that cost? I'd like to understand that. Is it the applicants that would be responsible for that litigation? I'd also like to understand if there have been any instances where the local community did not oppose a new Bill's convenience store, and perhaps we could get an explanation of what the Royalton situation is a year later. There was some disagreement about things there. I'm concerned that the development really doesn't benefit the city except for some incremental tax funding that could be offset if that was all residential property. So, I'm concerned about the light and the noise and the traffic and the road condition and everything else. But it seems like it's disingenuous to call the city where it's a little bit country, and you're putting a liquor store and a gas station where it's 3 or 4 miles away from another one, or 2 or 3 miles away into Elk River. That just is inconsistent with what the campaign rhetoric of the council members and the mayor, and I'd like the planning commission to consider that as you make your recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Master. I'm at 8783 190th. I agree with the two previous female speakers about Nowthen being desirable for its rural and farm-like community, and I'd like to see it stay that way. And I know Mayor Pilon, in your campaign slogan, you mentioned something close to my heart where you'd like to keep it rural, and I'd like it to stay that way. And I'm going to count on you to keep it that way. Thank you.
John Lehrman, I live at 9360 181st, right in Ramsey, right across from this proposed development. As the one speaker posed, I have a question about any kind of buffering, being that we're right on the county road, right across the street. I don't see any buffering for me unless you're going to buffer the residential or the commercial part. The idea of, again, we moved out here in 1991 and it was rural residential. That's what I think we'd like to keep. That's why all these people are around that area. To go and rezone it where you have other commercial, look at other parts of your city. I don't know where your other commercial properties are for your comp plans for 20, 30, or 40 going to be, but I think you have a lot of people that going to disrupt the area with the traffic, as I said, the roads. They're already busy now. And I don't know what the other proposal is for Ramsey, but I think it'd be a mistake to take the rural residential away from there and start down in that corner. Leave your, and as far as the Stovers, I don't know, they have their business there. I don't know, are they going to have their property taxes gonna change now from, gonna get more money from them from commercial? I don't know. The tax base, it's a very small tax base thing, I think that you're gonna, so I'm definitely against the, thank you.
Hello, I'm Eileen Ryder. I live at 8873 181st Avenue. My concern is all the car accidents. We've had one kid killed on the street with two twins, family lost their daughter. And just recently, my husband was pulling in the driveway and almost hit a car because it didn't want to stop and wanted to pass him. And so this happened several times. One car took out our Suburban in our driveway because it hit the mailbox and comes flying through. That road is very speedy. It's 55 miles an hour, but according to everybody else, it's 70. We had two motorcycles yesterday dragging down that road. I called Ramsey, and Ramsey told me our sheriff should be there. Our sheriff isn't there. I said, I've never seen a sheriff on the road. All I see is Ramsey cops. All my complaints are to Ramsey, not to you guys. So that's my biggest concern. We have a lot of traffic already. Somebody said there was 7,000 cars going through there a day on 181st. There's plenty of accidents there. We need to, try to figure out how to shut the accidents down, slow the speed limit down, do something if you're going to put all this in there. I'm not for it because of all the traffic. Thank you.
Jakob Kredinar, I live right on Bow Street in 187. My question is, it was mentioned about Gordon's across the street from that spot. Do we have any impact if Gordon's will decide to retire in a few years and build across the street and our city wouldn't benefit at all from that? Do we have impact if Ramsey will decide to rezone across the street?
Andrea Butner, 9115 Burns Parkway. My family moved to the city of Nowthen about 4 years ago to get out of the city of Ramsey and have more land, more of the country, so to speak. At that time, we knew there was a possibility of the field across the street being developed, but since it was zoned RRA, we thought worst case scenario, it would become a housing development. Big mistake. Many people on our street and the next street up have moved into the neighborhood within the last 4 to 5 years and probably have the same thought. When we chose to purchase our homes, we were moving into a residential area. It is quite different than if we chose to move into a neighborhood that was already around an area zoned commercially. We did not move into our neighborhood to have amenities close to us. We moved here for the rural. Right, our city motto, as it's mentioned, where it still feels like country. In the Comprehensive Land Use Plan 2030, it does not support the proposed amendment. I wonder why, when we create the land use plan, we bring all of the residents within the city to give input for that, but when we amend it, we only provide the information to people within 1,320 feet of said changes. Seems like a double standard. Why do we need more property that is commercial when the currently zoned commercial properties are not yet developed? Last month, it was stated the owners of commercial zone properties at the corner of 22 and 47 were not ready to sell, yet there are for sale signs posted. So this is incorrect on question number 7 in the packet. Besides, anything can be bought for the right amount of money. In the downtown area, the existing commercial property doesn't seem to be maximized as well. Let me just go to this before we lose it. Starting on July 19th, I, along with a couple of my neighbors, have been out speaking with neighbors and have roughly 150 signatures of people in the area that are opposed to this amendment. I will provide you a copy of it tonight, but I plan to submit the actual petition at the City Council in August. And number 5, in your answers to the questions from last month, and number 5, that goes back to, it said, the comprehensive plan states that we provide safe, convenient, attractive, and accessible commercial development within Nowthen that is responsive to the needs of the community. But the number of people here today, I would say that this proposed amendment is not meeting the needs of the community. We already have a gas station and liquor store within 2 miles. How many liquor licenses in a town of about 4,500 do we need in a 2-mile area? Question number 7 states the commercial property owners are not, I already talked on that, I guess. Number 15, question number 15, commercial uses are commonly located adjacent to residential areas. I guess I would question, are the people moving in to a commercial area, or is the commercial area being built around the already existing neighborhood? Number 18, agricultural uses are not the highest and best use of the subject properties for which the land use change has been proposed. I question whether this is a fact or an opinion. If it is factual, I would like to know how I can confirm that. There is no likeness within the existing neighborhood. All of the current businesses around there are zoned residentially. Most are not open year-round. They do not have customers coming and going at all hours of the day. Take, for example, Gordon's Greenhouse. They're open for about 2 months of the year and limited hours throughout those days.
You're over your 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Larson. I live at 9160 184th. I'm right across from the proposed property. A couple issues on you had a flyer last month. This might be for Liz. There's an issue in there about spot zoning, and you talk about like and compatible land uses, and this kind of goes into it, but then it kind of goes into how it's not compatible with the surrounding neighborhood for the benefit of the property owner and to the detriment of others. So there's kind of a, when I read that, this is something from TPC, I don't know, it's your study or Ressler study?
No, that was the report, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of, I mean, when I read through that, it looks like that kind of goes towards spot zoning, and which it goes on later, and they say that they don't recommend doing that. So I know it's kind of a legal issue, but I'm not, just as something to bring up. And then my second issue was, one of my concerns is our water. About 10 years ago, we had to replace our well motor, and I think it was Mork or Bork that does the pump, the wells around here, Mork. He mentioned that our wells aren't very deep on our property, and I'm imagining that all my neighbors are probably about the same. If we have a heavy water use light industrial facility over there, if we start cavitating and not getting water, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, it's just a possibility. What's gonna happen to landowners or homeowners? Do we then have to drill a $10,000 well to have water, or it's my concern. It's something that's right across my street. Like I said, most of my neighbors have it, so. I agree with most of everybody else, and I just think that most people live here, not for what is exactly here, but what is not here. So, thanks.
Good evening, my name is Joe Palicka, and I live at 8900 181st Avenue Northwest in Ramsey. And I concur with pretty much everything that's been said tonight. I'm in great opposition to this. We moved out to Ramsey about 14 years ago for the rural feel, and I believe this would be a serious infringement upon that and change the landscape significantly, permanently. I'm pro-business when it makes sense. I think this is a total land use mismanagement. I ask that also, if there's already area that is zoned in districts underutilized, that be seriously looking at. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Daisy Stanley. We live at 179th and Ermine Boulevard there. Right next to us, also I'm a little concerned with the water, because we have a 5-acre wildlife area right next to our land, and it's designated that in Ramsey with the creek running through there for the animals. So that probably should be checked out, and otherwise I pretty much agree with the others. When I moved out there in 1973, it was called Countryside Estates, so country is what we're looking for. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tom Zachary at 9248 187th Avenue Northwest, adjacent to this property. I think you can see by the turnout tonight, this is our neighborhood, this is our community. We are not looking for another liquor store. We are not looking for another gas station. In fact, when I look at the property, you're developing commercial property on the very edge of Nowthen. Well, that will not serve Nowthen. Yet, as resident owners, We will have to live with the change in our lifestyle, the change in our community to serve others or the profits of a few businesses. I also want to question, because this is a land use change of 2030, I would expect more transparency from the city government. There are no signs posted on this property that informs the community that there is a rezoning change. I think we took minimal standards to inform very few for something that will affect many. And the turnout tonight is because neighbors talk to neighbors. And these are your citizens. These are your voters. These are your taxpayers. We're saying no. And the other thing I want to stress, if you're not aware of the land adjacent is wetlands, it is ponds, it is a creek, it is fed by that property. Not only our wells, but the very nature of the livability of our community, if it's contaminated, I do not see the city having resources to fix it. But listen to your community. We live here for a reason. We pay taxes for very little infrastructure because this is our quality of life. We chose long commutes. We chose to be taxpayers in this community, and we expect this commission to listen to the very people impacted by your vote tonight. And I thank you.
I'm upset. Anyone do it?
My name is Lubov Sultan, and I reside in 18750 Iman Street. And I agree with all previous speakers. The reason why we bought the lot and built the house, because we want to, live kind of on the countryside, and we really enjoy it. It's a beautiful city, and I'm against rezoning, and I would like just to be the way it is now. So, thank you.
My name is Tom McMullen. I live at 8704 190th. I agree with the majority of the people here, or with all of them. But I would add, I'm retired. I moved here. And I moved here for quality of life issues. I escaped bad quality of life issues. I look at things as density when it comes to granting CUPs, et cetera. And having been in that business, density is important, and having another liquor store and another gas station where off-sale occurs, as well as you already have, and you have an abundance of on-sale locations, it's detrimental to the community and defeats quality of life. That's all I have to offer.
Hello, my name is Josh Peterson. I'm at 7679 185th Avenue. I'm actually for Mr. Raisler's proposal. Ultimately, all of you have jobs and you may affect other people's quality of life, but ultimately there's people that need, commercial space in this area. So I think you need to look at it from other people's perspective also, not just your own. I understand that you're all residents here. I've lived in this community for 30 years, and ultimately I see no issue with it. It's just the natural progression of life. So, thank you.
You have to admit, he was pretty brave.
Yeah. I live in Bailey Estates. I was lucky enough to actually get the letter the first time.
Give your address, please.
9470 187th Avenue, Northwest. So, I was lucky enough to actually get the letter the first time. I agree with
Excuse me, can we get your name too?
Oh, Nick Wolverton, sorry. I agree with the other gentleman who talked about, not really a lot of people being aware of the first time. Luckily, one of the neighbors got out and kind of let everybody know about, and I had the petition signed. So I'm glad she did that. I just want to thank her. I don't have anything else really better to say than anybody else already said up here. I disagree with it. I hope you guys make a recommendation to the city council that you don't approve of it, and if you do, I just, I'll be keeping track of the vote when the city council does vote, if it does get that far. And I do vote, and so the rest of my 6 family members in the city as well. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
If you're here, you're concerned, I encourage you to come speak. If you don't speak, your concerns will not make it to meeting minutes.
I don't know if you're allowed to say something again. I'm LaDonna Cartack from.
No, somebody else. No.
Oh, and there was somebody behind me?
We want to make sure everybody gets a chance to
Yes.
speak before we go a
Okay,
second time
sorry.
around. So.
Janice Chirpin, 9063 on 184th Avenue Northwest. I agree with just about everybody here, except for the young man that's all for this. I've lived out here for 25 years. We moved out here because it was a nice, quiet community. You put in another liquor store and another gas station, it's not going to be a nice, quiet community. So I vote no.
Hi, my name is Chad Jerzak. I'm at 9063 Burns Parkway. Originally, I had a prepared statement here that more or less is mostly addressed as an open letter to the city council, so it's kind of pointless for me to read this, but I'll just parcel out a few pieces of it. Obviously, tonight I'm here to express my opposition to this proposed change in designation. As you've all heard, there's numerous reasons, reasons I didn't even think about. I was educated tonight, so I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I think you guys are doing a great job. There's a lot of reasons why somebody wouldn't appreciate a business park in their front yard. I mean, I ask any one of you here sitting in front of us if this is something that you would like to see where you live. Assuming you live in Nowthen, right? But in any case, in all seriousness, you know, if the primary function of city government is to serve the needs of the residents, that would be all of us, then what you decide on this proposal must address our needs first and foremost. Nowthen already has a centrally located convenience store, liquor, gas, etc. We've got an industrial park right out here that's looks to me like it's underutilized. Obviously, it's not a secret that the allure of additional tax funding is what might be a big piece that would drive a decision like this. However, in this case, making a decision solely based on tax money really places the needs of business ahead of the residents. And I truly don't believe that if you call yourself a city government that you should right away do that. I think there needs to be some serious considerations in that regard. The change in zoning has far-reaching consequences, and not just in the short term. A change like this leaves open many questions about what future development might look like in the city of Nowthen, and how that proposal is going to fit with the needs and the values and the wants of the community. And clearly tonight we're seeing a lot of passionate responses that kind of point out to me that there's a lot of folks here that don't feel like this is part of why they live here. So it's my sincere hope that Nowthen will continue to be a place where it still feels like country, rather than a place that becomes where it's only country for some people. So I'd like you to consider that. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Carol Doyle, 8833 181st in Burnside Trails. I'd like to say that we've done a lot of good things in the city, but I don't think this is a particularly good fit. And I'd like to voice my opinion and say no rezoning in this case. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Kovar, and I live at 9368 188th, and I oppose.
All right. Tony Rutherford, 18953, 8953. What am I living? 8953, 184th Avenue. I say no, and I got a whole list of stuff, but everybody else said it and way better than I did. No.
I'm Carol McLaughlin, 8716 Burns Parkway. Now, if we were to let that happen in that little section, what's to say that on the other part of our road, the 200 acres over there, that, now we want to do that same thing. So we'd have Bill's and a liquor store and who knows what else on the other end. Because there's all that acreage right next to our house on Rabbit Street. If you do it to them, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you did it for them. Why not do it for us now?
Hi, Mary Greenspan, 8955 Burns Parkway. I moved here from Eden Prairie, so big city. I work in Edina. I do a 45-minute drive every day. I moved out here for the rural aspect. I have the hobby farm on Burns Parkway. I love the trails. People can interact, mingle. I think you could do another community there. You don't need to add traffic. Our road right on Burns Parkway, it's got that beautiful little S in it, and the motorcycles and other traffic like to zip through there, so we already have traffic concerns. I know the police have monitored that and have had markers out there. I'm concerned that if you do put this Bill's and liquor store in there, it's going to increase the traffic, which you've already said, and there's going to be increased accidents. These are a lot of hobby farms, families. We ride our horses in that area, and I'd like to see that continue. That is the appeal of this neighborhood. Thank you.
My name is Tom Thedens, 18393 Tiger Street in Oak River. I guess everybody who lives right there knows that the Ramsey Police Department spends quite a bit of time at that four-way stop. You may want to consider having them there 24/7 if we build that. I vote no.
Let's keep it moving.
Yvonne Lehrman, 9360 181st Avenue Northwest. My driveway is right across from this corner that we're talking about, and I agree with everyone in this room. Sorry, young man. But everyone else I agree with. I can't say it better. I think they've all done a great job preparing. I raised 3 boys in that corner, and I can't imagine now thinking about possibly any of them moving back and having more noise, having more light, having more police, because yes, my sons have been pulled over in that corner because they roll through there. It's a terrible place to imagine increased noise, lighting. I don't want that noise in my yard. I already hear the people coming and leaving from the four-way. I don't want all that exhaust on my beautiful apple trees. It's not a good idea, and I'm strongly against it.
Anybody else? While I'm waiting, does anybody on the commission have any questions they'd like to ask the applicants or anything? Seeing none, Again, I'm gonna ask the public, anybody wants to speak up, come up here.
Thanks, Ken. Tim Wallach, 8933 184th. You know, I agree with all my neighbors here, but I'm worried about down the line here what's gonna happen. Dayton Bridge is gonna eventually come through. Armstrong's already been developed down there. That's only the start of the traffic. So if we put this thing through, it's gonna be a lot worse. I think we should just vote no and be done with it, you know? Look at our own, the way we live now. That's the way we want.
My name is Kathy Ron. I live at 9163 184th Avenue with my husband. We live directly across from the said development. I say no. That means my property values could go down because I have industrial.
I'm just turning in my words so they can copy them to the website a little more clear this time.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any comments?
Yeah, I'm not gonna come up, but I think you can hear me back here because I might watch my bad head. Bill Schultz, 18509 Boss Street. I have two things that I'm concerned about, and there's already lots of things that were talked about. But I think we need to spend some more time doing a feasibility study on whether this is something that we want in our community right now. Right now, I don't see anything where we've done any study on this to see how it's going to fit in. And then the other thing is, what are we leaving for our next generation? If we get everything developed, that would be beautiful for them. We need to take a look at that and say, what are we leaving for the next generation, because right now, we're not doing that. Thank you.
I would just like to say for the record, I'm actually 35.
My name is Craig Chupesky. I'm a resident 8862 Burns Parkway since 1993. I strongly oppose.
If anybody else wants to speak, they're welcome to speak, because it's the only way you get on the record is speak.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mayor.
I want to reiterate, it was brought up by one of the speakers here. The commission tonight, again, these are appointed officials, they're not elected officials, they're volunteering here. And you can imagine, we rarely get anybody at these meetings except for those who have something before the, a rezoning or something involving their property. So we rarely get this kind of turnout. So it is a little daunting. So it's kind of new for all of us. But just so that you know, this is the time for the public hearing. And there's going to be 5 more public hearings after this yet tonight. This is the time when people get to speak. Then this body will deliberate and they'll make a recommendation to stop it here or deny it or recommend it, whatever their decision is. Once it gets to the council, we don't have the same discussion there. That's why we have the public hearings here, so people can weigh in, can be on record. But once we get this information collected and disseminated to the city council and the recommendation, whatever it would be from the commission, that's not the time to bring it up. So it's I appreciate that there's certainly been a lot of involvement of neighbor to neighbor. We do apologize. We realized at the last public hearing that our notifications weren't properly done because of the various PIN numbers. It wasn't any intention to do anything underhanded. Again, this is a request that's come to us as a city. They're property owners. They have the opportunity to ask anything they want. We as a city don't have to oblige them. This is an amendment, but it was nothing intended to be underhanded or back room on this. We're still a growing city. This is the first situation we've had like this. And so we've got some things we've learned through it. We haven't had development requests on borders that have to go to other cities. We actually extended it out. If you go back through our council minutes, there have been those of us on the council that for a number of years have asked for signage. Somebody had mentioned that there was no signage as regarding the land use, like you'll see down in Ramsey. And we have been asking for council approval for that, and we're putting it in this year's budget. Because we understand something like this has a major impact on the whole city. You know, and an amendment is the right of the property owners and the developer to request. And the regulations are that you notify the people in the immediate proximity. We want to make that people more aware as they're driving by so they can call the city and say, what are you doing on that corner? Every time I drive through Ramsey and I see one of those signs, I call. And they've got a very professional system. They get back to you. They tell you exactly what they're doing. And we want to do that same thing here. So we're growing as a city. We just celebrated our 9th anniversary as a city. So we appreciate your patience. We appreciate your involvement. And if anybody else wants to speak, this would be the time, because I'll run the next meeting, and at the council, we vote, but we don't debate. You know, at that point, we have a workshop where we have our discussion. We'll interpret the minutes from this meeting and the recommendation. But this is your chance to speak. And again, I'll tell you, there are at least 3 council members, 2 besides myself, that I see here tonight. We are available to the public. If there's more, you know, we can't speak to our votes until we actually get at the meeting to vote. But we can listen to residents. So we'll listen to this. The council members that aren't here, I know they view the website and they view the YouTube meetings as well. So again, appreciate your participation. Appreciate, obviously, with the enthusiasm that's opposed to this, that we can get up and somebody can have a difference of opinion and not worry about seeing his 36th birthday. We like to have citizen involvement, and we encourage it. So thank you.
Mike Egan, 8930 184th Avenue and Burnside Trails. Now, when this gets proposed, I was wondering if they'll take into account, we contract with the Anoka County Sheriff on how many hours they drive through for our police protection. I would think in the future, it might be 5 years down the road, that's gonna have to increase. What about the roads? The roads are a big thing around there on all those roads with the traffic. Are we gonna be on the hook for road improvements then when we get this thing in there and we have the accidents? And I'm just wondering, I hope the city council looks going forward about the future costs, and will that be on us or will that be on the industrial area that is driving the future costs?
Hello, my name is Megan Ron. I'm at 9163 184th Avenue. I am directly across from the development that's going in. I've lived with my parents for 20 years now at this home. We grew up with kids. The neighborhood grew up with kids. We have dogs, we have horses, and it's a big deal for us to be able to go around the trail on horses and walk your animals, and I think this is gonna ruin it. We have kids. I'm expecting a baby in November, and I can't imagine my kid playing in the yard because I have to worry about cars coming in and out of the street. On a daily basis, we sit outside and we have cars come in and out of our driveway backing up because they get lost or they get turned around or they need to go back. We don't need more cars down the street. We need less commercial sites, and we need more people who care about the community and care about the kids that are growing up there.
Jerry Lidner, 9133 184th Avenue. I oppose this. I feel there's going to be a lot of congestion with traffic going in and out. And I agree with everybody here but the one young gentleman. Thank you.
Again, I'll say this is your opportunity, your voice to be heard.
My name is Mike Karjak. I live in Bailey Estates. Her husband. Whether I agreed or not, I better agree with her. It's pretty obvious that the people that this affects the most do not want this. And you can't really prove, all the facts about costs and money and how it's going to affect the water and all these different things. None of that can be proved, but it's pretty obvious. The proof is here that the people that it affects the most do not want this, so for crying out loud, it's pretty obvious. Let's just not go ahead with it, period.
Hi, Sue Feist. I'm at 9023 184th Avenue Northwest. My friend Mary that spoke a little bit ago, she's the one that encouraged us to move up here 2 years ago. It took us 2 years to find our place. Kind of a childhood fulfillment of having a farm and horses in my backyard. And I'm sure if they could speak, they would say no too. We lived in Maple Grove for 20 years. When we first moved there was hardly anything there, and we all know what it's like now, and that's why we moved away. A whole lot of stodgy people moved in, a whole lot of traffic. It's horrible down there, so you don't want that here. Thank you.
Just want to say, if the animals start speaking, don't tell anybody about it, because that'll be bringing everybody in to see them.
Waiting for the next one.
I'm Mark Colstead. I live at 8860 184th Avenue Northwest. The same thing, I grew up in Maple Grove. It was completely country then. Nearest gas station was Osseo. They proposed the same thing there. They said, we'll bring you in SA gas station. Look what happened after that. Enough said. I'm against this.
If the people don't keep coming up, right, one after the other, we're gonna close the meeting.
If you're thinking, come on up and sit here, because
Lorraine Gravely,
You've
9050
already
Burns Parkway.
You've already spoken.
I just wanted to say I concur with the people that have spoken against it.
Thank you.
I just want to know if I can submit a copy of the petition for the commission.
certainly we'll give it to the city. And again, the information we have is all public information, so we do go through our deputy clerk here, and that'll be all part of the packet that's available to residents. So.
Okay, if there's nobody else, we're gonna close the meeting.
Public hearing.
Public hearing. We're gonna close it, now we're gonna act upon it. Okay.
So at this point, the discussion will be amongst the commission members. So if you wanted, you're free to leave if you've said your piece. Now the commission members will discuss and make their recommendations. So you're free to stay for that as well. So. And they're gonna have that discussion right now.
All right, like it, stay.
Pull the noise down, we're gonna conduct a meeting.
Let me state one thing for those people that are leaving.